And there's only so much shit you're going to take before you put something on display to totally drop mouths. Before they say, look, we don't care how many missiles you have. You're not going to do anything we don't want you to do. But they're not going to do that until it's too late for you to do anything about it. Right? Isn't that common sense? And so by putting this field up, they would be sending a simple message. And the question is, do I think it was them? Yes. The simple explanation is always the best. If I have a patent from 1983 from Eastman who had something to do with SDI, by the way, over at Bob's Underground Graduate Seminar, he can tell you all about Star Wars and the fight politically Star Wars. The communists were up in the air over it. We now know why. It had something to do with what a Hart field was capable of doing in regards to missile defense. It made certain elements of the Cold War obsolete immediately. Fantastic. But basically, if you have a patent for it, then there's a simple explanation to what happened in Germany. It's not aliens. It's not some sophisticated. Well, it is sophisticated, but it's not something unexplainable. It's just something that we don't have in our textbooks yet, and that's nothing new. That's nothing new. Stealth bombers weren't in the textbooks until it's too late. But the simplest explanation is right there. Now, do I think the Russians knew about it? I don't think the Russians who fired the missile knew about it. I think it freaked them out. But you would never tell them anyways, because that would ruin the effect. You don't want anyone knowing about it except a handful. Do I think the Russians at the Surov facility? And the Surov facility is the Russian HARP facility. It's over in, let me pronounce this correctly. Over in Nizhny Novgorod. Yes, I think I got that right. I'm not even going to try it again. It's Nizhnynovgorod. And that is the Suro ionospheric heating facility, and you can see it. I'll put its actual website or something about it up on my Twitter, and it is over there in that city I named, and I'm not going to try to name again because I think I got it close to correct. But I'll put this up on my Twitter. But the Russians had one of those, and supposedly we know the one in Northern Europe, the one in north of Trondheim, was turned up to a very high level. But supposedly the Surov facility in Russia was also turned up to high level. So I'm guessing some Russians did know about it. But, you don't want to ruin the effect. You just want to take it down. And what better on a Russian missile, because the Russians and the Germans are operating together, and the Russians have what probably some of the most sophisticated missiles, if not the most sophisticated on Earth. The only other super sophisticated missiles are going to be in America. So what a better way to put it on display and tell, all Team Pink Rabbit to shut the hell up. Look what we got. You want to put up 50,000 missiles? We don't care. They'll hit our bug zapper. So it's high time for us to see something. I do agree with that. But I don't agree with all these radical explanations like it's Martians and it's UFOs. Team Pink Rabbit's New Age group, and I haven't given you one of the names to it. I know I keep getting emails saying, please give us the name. I can't do that yet. And there's going to be a very good reason for that. I'm sorry for that. Usually I put stuff on my Twitter. I give you everything, but this is something I can't give you yet. They have said it was UFOs, it's their space brothers. So, we know it's the Germans. There's a simple explanation. But if you look at the actual patents to Hartfield alone, in Alaska, and people scratch their head over this, how could this be used for missile defense? Well, there's something you're missing, and that something is torsion. That something is torsion, and what it is actually capable of doing once you get it to the engineering stage. And this is something the Germans were dealing with in the 30s. That's a long time ago. That's a long time ago. All you need is a template of action, basically over an area or region to, and that's what you need. And what I will do in the next section is we will go into templates. I'm going to talk about some other events. We're going to talk about Bye-Bye Blackbird. But I believe the simplest explanation is always the easiest, always the direct, always the best. Now, in the next section, I'm going to go into Bye-Bye Blackbird. Now, that becomes more speculative because we don't have any necessary patents for it. And we're also going to talk about earthquakes. We don't have any. I don't know of any patents being filed for earthquake weapons, although Tesla did talk about it. But once you deal with HARP fields, low cavity resonators, you can do anything you can write a template for. And I'll give you Doc Farrell's definition of a template. We'll try to keep it simple so you can understand. But the physics is extremely sophisticated in so much as you can become super creative with it. It doesn't look like too much. But you start talking about engineering the fabric of space-time itself, it becomes pretty wild stuff. But eventually we're going to see it. Eventually they're going to put it on display. And they're not going to let someone sit there and mouth off. They're not going to say it. They're just going to do it. They're not going to brag about it until after the fact. But I do believe it was the Germans. I do believe that do I believe that the Russian and the German facilities are linked up, that the Sura facility is linked up? Now, that's just the one we know about in Russia. Russia's got a lot of land. There's only one in America and Alaska that we know about. There's only one in Northern Europe that we know about. But do I think that the Russians and the Germans have their heart fields linked up on some level? I don't think it's an overt linking. I think it's a covert linking, and I think it's been there a long time. They're not going to let someone annihilate European children if they can do something to stop it. You know, and let's face it, no missiles have hit Europe yet. So I'm of the impression, even in America it's different because American elites hate us. Yeah, they hate white rabbits. In fact, the American elites, a lot of people don't like when I call Anglo-American because most of them aren't Anglo. There's some truth to that. The pink rabbits running Anglosphere, the pink rabbits in Anglosphere, America, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, they hate Europeans. I mean, the people running America right now are the most anti-European. We're infested with these pink rabbits over here. Do I think that they would link up the heart fields? To answer my Asian listeners, and I don't know specifically. Let me check something real quick. Let me check and see if they have them in Japan. I can't find any website for a heart field in Japan, but every time we don't think someone has one, they generally do. Now, do I think they're linking these things up? I think the Russians and the Europeans have an overt linking. A covert linking, based on fraternal structures, German fraternities and whatnot, and based on a workable agreement. The reason I say this is Angela Merkel made it clear to George Bush Jr. That they didn't need our missile defense long ago, and now we know why. Yeah, it's kind of obvious. They got their own. Now, it would be really put up a serious wall if they could link it with the Russians, my understanding is. But there's a lot of uncertainties with this physics. It hasn't been studied yet by the outside world. But I do believe there is a covert linking. Now, whether or not it's in America, well, we're going to talk about something else first, and I'll talk about whether or not the heart fields are linked in America. It would really depend on Team Pink Rabbit. If the Pink Rabbit elitisters have sold them out, which is what I think, they've been bent over a barrel, screwed over, and had to sell them out. I think we see this every day as the Germans encroach on the heartland of America, buying up everything in sight. Better them than the Chinese. You know, people always complain in America about Russians buying this or Germans. It's a big stink. It's a big deal on Wall Street with the Germans taking over New York Stock Exchange. It doesn't bother me at all. Take it over and, well, streamline it, put whatever we don't need out of business, whatever. But anyways, I think it is possible. What you're saying is that the Pink Rabbit elitisters have been over the barrel so much that they've done a deal, and that deal could include linking heart fields. But there could be another explanation, and so I'll answer some more questions in the next segment. We're going to go into Bye Bye Blackbird. It's a pretty complicated subject matter because it is all speculation. You know, is Lieutenant Colonel Tom Bearden right that this stuff is out there? I believe it's a high probability. Yes, I mean that's what we're seeing. The simplest explanation is the best. It's not UFOs. It's not crazy Martians. It's not little creatures from another planet. It's white rabbits. It's stealth technology. It is stealth technology in the late 80s, and we haven't exactly seen the bombing of Baghdad. You know, they were, believe it or not, the U.S. military was putting stealth technology on display. Most people just didn't even know it. Most people, they were sending messages loud and clear, but that's how we operate. So let's go into the next segment, and let me continue this explanation. I'll try to give you an explanation of a template, and we're going to talk about Bye Bye Blackbird, about all these animals dropping dead. Many people have been reading about and commenting on all over the world about stuff coming out of the Pentagon about in regards to race-based weaponry and all this speculation. There was an event that happened, and I've been asked about it. One of the challenges with this event is that there are several of these all the time going on over the last maybe year or so. Now, I don't know whether or not we're just aware of it, but let's go ahead and talk about the first event, and I'll tell you what I don't like about it, or what kind of caught my attention. Down in Arkansas, they had a couple thousand blackbirds that just dropped dead, went crazy, and dropped dead from internal injuries. And we've had several episodes like this of cattle, various different things just dropping dead. In my opinion, what I would have done, even if it was some type of weapons test, I would immediately came on the news. I would have had the media say that, you know, I would have had the media go back in time and talk about every decade how we have all different kinds of strange animal events, and I believe there always has been, of groups of animals dropping dead for strange reasons, going back in time. I think one of the challenges now with the internet is we all see about everything and see everything mysterious up close and very quickly. You know, if a bunch of cattle drop dead in Australia, which I believe has happened mysteriously, well, we're going to find out about it on the internet. So there's always been a bunch of strange animal deaths. It's just the reason is that we're finding out about it. But they didn't go on TV with some rational explanation of like, you know, well, there's a lot of strange animal deaths, but with the internet and with everything going viral and all this type of thing on the internet, well, we just find out about things, you know, and I'd go back in time and talk about all the strange animal deaths 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I mean, I believe this happens every year somewhere. But there was a bunch of birds, a bunch of red-winged blackbirds, bye-bye blackbirds, and they just got whacked by something. Something dropped them dead. They come on TV in Arkansas and nationwide America, and they say fireworks did it. Yeah, they lit off a bunch of fireworks and the birds went crazy and died from internal injuries. Now, when you hear explanations like that, and they're doing this all over Western civilization when a group of animals dies over the past couple of years, they're giving explanations that the average white rabbit listening says, something doesn't make sense. I mean, please give me some decent BS. Why doesn't it make sense? Because everyone hearing that in Arkansas, all the people in Arkansas know darn well that fireworks don't cause a bunch of bird deaths simply because they've all lit off fireworks. It's such a stupid explanation. At the same time, it creates a great deal of fear and anxiety on a subconscious level. Because here you have a bunch of deaths, they're mysterious, you're walking down the street, you have hundreds of blackbirds in certain areas just all over the pavement and everything else, and they're telling you it's fireworks. But everyone in the area has lit off a Roman candle. Everyone's lit off bottle rockets. I'm not saying the wildlife loves them, but they don't exactly, flocks of seagulls don't exactly drop dead when you're lighting Roman candles on the beach. It just doesn't work that way. So they're giving an explanation that creates a great deal of fear and anxiety. And in my opinion, they're doing it intentionally. Now, even if you were testing a weapon, that's not the explanation you're going to give unless you want to scare the bejesus out of people. You know, if you are testing a weapon, you're going to do what I say. Well, every decade we have all kinds of animals dropping dead. It's just the media is so encompassing now that everything goes viral. It's just, and I would show you all kinds of historic examples. Say, you know, it's a mystery. You know, these things do happen. We don't really have a rational explanation sometimes to every time something or someone drops dead. But for the bye-bye blackbirds, they drop dead and they come out with fireworks, and everyone scratches their head. And of course, this type of explanation does not do anything to quiet it down, does it? Everyone keeps talking about it, which creates more fear and more anxiety. It is, it's as if someone's psychologically prepping the population. I mean, that's what you do. You would have to psychologically prep the population. The question that I get asked is the psychological aspects I can understand. That's blatantly obvious to me. That's not what you're going to tell the average person, even the above average person, to get them to shut up about it. That's what you're going to, when you say something like fireworks, all you're doing is having them talk about it. People that don't know about it are going to find out about it because it doesn't make sense to anyone. You know, there's not a rational explanation that's going to cover up anything. It's an irrational explanation that is designed to get them talking more and more and get more fear and more anxiety. Why would you do something like that? Well, I guess if you plan on doing that on a mass scale, that's what you'd want. You'd want them psychologically prepared for a lot of accidental deaths or a lot of mayhem just in the blink of an eye, because this happened extremely quickly. And I'll go on to answer some questions about it, because this is when all over the globe. It was on Huffington Post. You know, there was statements, more than 1,000 birds fall from the sky, and everyone's saying it, more likely HARP, scalar, EM weapon testing. And it's all the same stuff. It's all the same stuff. But we're going to talk about templates. We're going to talk about electromagnetic weapons. We're going to talk about some different theories on this, all speculative. It's all speculative until bye-bye blackbird happens and everything drops dead around you one morning. We'll talk about how this thing is done, but these are topics that my listeners have heard of before. We're going to talk about